The heat is finally breaking. After one of the most brutal heat dome events Chicago has seen in years, a week where the air itself felt like a physical weight pressing down on the city, the atmosphere is beginning to reset. Welcome to your Chicago Weekly Weather Deep Dive for the week of July 5th through July 11th, 2026. I'm going to walk you through exactly what happened, what the National Weather Service is saying right now, and what to expect in the days ahead, including the big question: is the heat dome coming back? Let's get into it. First, what just happened? Because the past week in Chicago was meteorologically extraordinary, and it deserves a proper recap. Starting June 29th, a massive upper-level ridge of high pressure, the heat dome, built and locked itself over the central and eastern United States. Think of an upper-level ridge as a cap over the atmosphere. It traps hot air underneath, suppresses cloud formation, and forces descending air that compresses and heats even further as it sinks. The result was dangerous, oppressive heat across Chicago and the entire Midwest. For 5 consecutive days, Chicago saw high temperatures in the low to mid-90s. But the real story wasn't just the thermometer, it was the dew points. Dew point is the single best measure of how much moisture is actually in the air. When dew points climb into the 70s, and Chicago saw readings of 74, 75, even 76 degrees, the air becomes what NWS meteorologist Brett Borchardt perfectly described as air you can wear. Heat index values, what it actually felt like, combining heat and humidity, reached 100 to 108 degrees across the metro. Downtown Chicago, with its concrete, asphalt, and steel amplifying the heat island effect, saw overnight lows that barely dropped below 80 degrees. That is the dangerous part. Your body needs overnight relief to recover from daytime heat stress. When nights stay near 80, the cumulative toll on vulnerable people, the elderly, the very young, those without air conditioning, compounds rapidly. Cook County opened cooling centers, the city activated its heat emergency protocols, and the NWS issued extreme heat warnings, one of the strongest weather alerts in existence for multiple consecutive days. It was Chicago's most significant heat event since the tragic 1995 heat wave that claimed over 700 lives.
Now let's talk about what broke the heat, because that story is just as interesting. The heat dome began to erode late in the week as a series of upper-level disturbances. Shortwave troughs, which are dips in the jet stream that act like rotating eddies cutting through the pattern, approached from the west. These features are the atmosphere's way of breaking down a stagnant ridge. As each shortwave moved through, it destabilized the atmosphere above Chicago, releasing the enormous energy stored in all that heat and moisture. The result? Several rounds of powerful, organized thunderstorms over the July 3rd and 4th holiday weekend. And here's where the NWS discussion issued Saturday evening, July 4th at 6:45 p.m. Central Time becomes essential listening. Forecaster Borchardt describes the atmosphere on July 4th as having mean 1-kilometer mixing ratios in excess of 15 grams per kilogram. That is an extraordinarily high measure of low-level moisture. Precipitable water values, PWAT, the total column of water vapor in the atmosphere measured in liquid inches, were approaching 2 inches. That is exceptional for Chicago. Normal July PWAT for the area runs around 1.3 to 1.5 inches. 2 inches means there is an almost incomprehensible amount of water vapor suspended above your head, waiting to fall. And MUCAPE, that's most unstable convective available potential energy, the fuel supply for thunderstorms, was near 3,000 joules per kilogram. For context, meteorologists consider anything above 2,500 joules per kilogram to be extreme instability. Chicago had extreme instability layered beneath a supersaturated atmosphere. The resulting storms on July 4th produced rain rates exceeding 2 to 4 inches per hour, with dangerous flash flooding across Kane, DuPage, Cook, Will, and Lake Indiana counties. Rivers and creeks that had already absorbed multiple inches of rain over the prior days hit bank full and flood stage. A flood watch and severe thunderstorm watch were in effect simultaneously.
Meteorologically, the storms on July 4th were organized around something called a Mesoscale Convective Vortex, or MCV. An MCV is a mid-level spinning circulation, typically about 50 to 300 kilometers in diameter, that forms from the remnants of overnight thunderstorm clusters. Think of it as a miniature low-pressure system embedded in the middle levels of the atmosphere, around 3 to 7 kilometers up. MCVs are important because they can organize new storm development hours after their parent storm system has died, and they focus lift in ways that can produce persistent heavy rainfall over the same area. On July 4th, the MCV acted as the spark that organized storms into a coherent quasi-linear band rather than scattered cells, concentrating the rainfall and the flash flood threat. Meanwhile, the DVN, that's the Davenport, Iowa wind profiler, was sampling only 25 to 30 knots of flow at 4 to 6 kilometers altitude, which is notably weaker than the prior days. This meant storms had less wind shear to work with, so the primary hazard shifted from organized severe wind events to wet microbursts and flooding. A wet microburst is a concentrated downdraft of cold, rain-cooled air that hits the ground and fans outward, capable of producing wind gusts of 60 to 80 miles per hour in a small area for a very brief time. These are particularly dangerous for aviation and for anyone outdoors during a storm.
And this is where the forecast gets interesting for the second half of the week. The NWS is watching for the return of west-southwest flow aloft, meaning the jet stream pattern that supported the heat dome is trying to reestablish itself, at least in a modified form. The guidance, meaning the suite of computer forecast models, shows this pattern rebuilding for the middle and latter half of next week. The GFS, or Global Forecast System, NOAA's primary American model, has been consistent in this signal. The European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasts model, known as the ECMWF, or simply the Euro, also supports a return of above normal temperatures by the second half of the week. Now, will it be as extreme as what we just experienced? Based on current guidance, probably not. The heat dump signature that drove 100+ degree heat indices was an unusually deep and persistent upper ridge. What's projected for late this week looks more like seasonably warm to somewhat above normal temperatures, highs back in the upper 80s to lower 90s, rather than the life-threatening extreme heat of the prior week. But with the return of west-southwest flow comes the return of Gulf moisture. And with moisture comes instability. And with instability comes storm chances. The NWS language is cautious but clear. Shower and thunderstorm chances increase for the middle and latter half of next week as the pattern becomes more active again. This is not a lock on severe weather. The atmosphere needs to be watched day by day, but it is a signal that the brief, quiet window we're getting this weekend and early next week is likely temporary.
Here is your day-by-day breakdown for the week. Sunday, July 5th, decreasing storm coverage mainly south of Interstate 80. Isolated showers and storms still possible tied to afternoon heating, but far less coverage and intensity than the past few days. Highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s. Watch for elevated lake waves, moderate swim risk. Monday, July 6th, mostly dry, high-pressure building. Highs lower to mid-80s. Some clouds possible from the lake, very pleasant. Tuesday, July 7th, dry and warmer, mid to upper 80s, southerly winds increasing moisture. Still comfortable compared to last week. Wednesday, July 8th, watch this day closely. Model guidance is beginning to show increasing instability and moisture return. Storm chances possible, especially afternoon and evening. Highs upper 80s to near 90. Thursday, July 9th and Friday, July 10th, pattern becomes more active. Storm chances increase as west-southwest flow returns aloft. Could see additional organized convection. Temperatures in the upper 80s to near 90. The heat dome in its most intense form does not look to fully reestablish next week, but above normal heat and humidity return. The bottom line, enjoy Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. They are the best days of the next 10. Keep an eye on model trends Wednesday through the weekend for the next potential storm setup. Sign up for wireless emergency alerts on your phone so you receive tornado warnings and extreme heat alerts automatically. Stay informed, stay ahead of the weather, and stay safe. That is your Chicago Weekly Weather Deep Dive for the week of July 5th through 11th, 2026. Morning forecasts are here for you every day at 7 a.m. on Spreaker, plus a historical weather deep dive every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 a.m. Central. Support the show for $5 a month and keep the forecasts coming. Take care, Chicago.
You know that this podcast has a supporters club? By becoming a supporter of the show, you can gain access to exclusive content and play an active role in helping the podcaster continue producing the content you love. See the link in the episode description for more details. Now, let's get back to the episode.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing and sharing with other people.